Hello, my name is Kat. Welcome to my channel. Today we have a wrap up. Hello, how are you doing today? I hope you're having a wonderful day. So today's video is finally the wrap up for the month of May and June. I know it's late, but it is what it is. I've been working a lot, so I didn't have too much time to read and I didn't have too much time to make videos. So for this time around, we have only 2 audios and 3 physicals to talk about. Let's start with the audios and then we're gonna jump to my physicals. So my first audio that I have, it was Trawn Ascendancy, and this one is a reread. I did this one because if you remember, I did a kind of like a recap of my audios that I get through my audio library, or like in my general audios, and I realized that I don't remember too much about them. So I decided to go back to some of my Star Wars books especially. So Trawn Ascendancy is about this part of the galaxy where they have 9 families. And these 9 families, they are very powerful. And you can be part of these families if you either get adopted or you're born to these families. So on this part of the galaxy, Trawn is already a person who is having a good career, like a military. And something happened to one of these families, and they decided to call him and ask him to figure out what's going on, and they sent him with a little Skywalker and the person who take care of this little Skywalker to figure out what is going on. These little Skywalkers, they are little kids that they are able to navigate this difficult area. So the story goes around them and what happened, and is the beginning of his career. What I did like about the story, I like how they present Trawn is the hero of his own story. It's not the bad, but it's not the good. He is trying to do what he thinks is right. And it's interesting to see how they see some of his memories and how you see him reacting on making plans on the right time, like in the present time in the story. So it's really interesting how they manage that, and they give you a lot of information about the Trawn history or story, and a lot of information that may be very important for the Star Wars story overall. So that's very interesting. You need to pay attention when you're listening or reading it, because it's a lot of little details. What I did not like about the book or the story is the little Skywalker kid. I think I feel the kid a little too spoiled. It's supposed to be a kid that has a lot of traumas, but I didn't feel her that way. I feel her like it was just a spoiled kid. Maybe the narration didn't help, maybe just the character that didn't work for me, but that was the part that I didn't enjoy too much. When I was getting to her sections, it was not fun for me. I didn't like it. But the whole idea of the Skywalker make you wonder what's going on there. So it's a really good book. I would recommend it. The second book that I get through an audio is Hard Times, and I have it here on my hands. And technically, I wanted to do it by read this on physical form because I have a beautiful edition, but I was running out of time. This one I supposed to read it at the end of June for my book club and be able to talk about it in our little meeting. And I was feeling like I would not finish it on time, so I decided to do it on audio to make sure I get the story by the time we have to have the meeting. And I did like it, maybe. So what is the story about? It's about this family that they have little kids, and the father believes that the lie is supposed to be everything about facts. Like he is very strict and he follows certain rules, and he believes in the structure of what the society think is right, and kids they supposed to just focus on that. So that's the main story. Like the story goes around this family and the way that the father thinks and what it will affect to the kids, what it will make to the kids, that way of thinking. What I did like about the story, I did like that he is very good writing the characters, like you can actually picture them. I did like how he managed to make his point. Like, even if the story doesn't get you too interesting, you can understand his point. And I did like the message that he was trying to say, that it's like life is not all about rules. Life is more, it has to be more like relationships with other people, the way that you behave with other people. Life is more than just rules and structures, social structures. So I did like the message that he was trying to say on the book. What I did not like, I feel it like a little repetitive sometimes, and I feel like he describes a lot of things. Maybe it's just me. My friend said she didn't see it like he was describing too many things, but I feel it that he was, and I feel like he was repeating a lot of things. And I will say maybe it's because the way that it was published, it has to be published every week, some chapters. So he was trying to make sure that the reader was remembering what's happening the week before. So maybe that's why he needs to repeat some things and describe a little in more detail something, so the reader can reconnect with the story. I would think it was that the reason, but I'm not 100% sure. It's the second book that I have from Dickens, or that I read from Dickens, and I get the feeling that he's not my style of writing. He writes really nice, but I don't think it's for me. I will still try. I will still read another ones from him, because he's a classic author, and I still want to find out what is about him that a lot of people love. But this one, it was um, half and half. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. It's in an okay level. So let's move on to my first physical, that is Once There Were Wolves. I did talk about this one not long ago, in a couple videos ago. And this one is about this girl and her sister, that they are moving to, I think it's Australia, and they're trying to relocate some wolves in the wildlife. So when they are trying to do that, they have to work some issues, like personal issues, some personal traumas. And that's basically it. So what I did like about the story, I did like the idea that she was trying to show how to introduce wild animals to the wild, and how the communities and society sometimes don't help, or that they don't help too much, and we ended up hurting the animals. I did like the idea, but I think she didn't present it well, because she writes a lot of things, like a lot of things happening. The issues from the sisters, the community with the animals, then some kind of mystery going on. It was too many things. And I think it lost focus on what the book I was thinking it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be for me about the animals and how they relocated. And I feel like I ended up reading a love story and something else. So I didn't like the way that it was managed. And I think she talked too many things and never get very deep in any of them. And I didn't like how they managed the animal part. I I didn't like how it ended. The end of the story, I think it was not right for me, and I was very upset about it. So I would not recommend it. If you have issues about animals being hurt, maybe don't read it, because I didn't like those sections. It's not a lot. It's not too many of them, but it has some of them, and it did upset me a lot. So this one, it was a no for me. I really didn't like it. So let's move on to the next one. Next one is Divine Rivals. So Divine Rival is my Ukraine version, and I read them with them. I don't know if you can see it. They have some sections. They have an app, and they were reading the book, and I kind of follow the story, or I read with them, but I couldn't finish with them. I was a little behind. Anyways, what it was the book about? This about this girl that her brother is going to a war because the gods are causing some troubles, making people fight to each other, and in her war is some kind of magic. They don't really explain why is magic there. It's just we thinking it's because the gods were there and some magic was left behind. And she needs to start working to help her mother. And she decided to work in Agasset because she likes to write. So that's the main idea of the story, and we just follow her and her journey. What I did like about the story, I did like that part of the magic things that they were having in the in her world, but I feel like it was a little weak. I did like how she has some kind of competition with the guy in the Gazette, but the same. I feel like the romance was a little weak there too. So I don't know. I think the main idea is interesting. The main part of the magic happening in her world is very interesting, but I think uh, it was a little weak for me. I did like the story. It's not the worst, but I don't think it's the best. If I would recommend it, yeah, if it's a romance, if you like romance and fantasy, especially romance, I think it will work for you. But it was not my favorite because of that. Like it was a little weak on the magic system, I think. Let's move on. So let's finish with the book that I like the most these couple months, and that one is Valor. So this one is my favorite book for these 2 months. I really like it. So I did read Malice, and Malice is more like a setup story. This one is still for me like a setup. We get introduced different characters. We have the main characters more. They know what they need to do. They need to fight for their families and for their friends, and they have to like get through so many things. But they get introduced some other characters that they are really good developed. They are really great. I don't know what he does, but he writes great characters that you like them and you want to know them. And at the end of the book, you actually know them. You know how they are, their personalities, and you either dislike them or like them because how they are. And I think the animal companions, they get more involved in the story too, that I really enjoy it. I cannot tell you too much about it because it's the second book on the series, so I will spoil if I say something else. But I feel like this one, it was a really good second book. It's still for me a setup. More things happen, like the main plot is more clear, but it's still a setup for me. It has a lot of like action scenes, no action, fight scenes that they are really good. I usually don't like them too much because they kind of bore for me, but I think he is really good writing fight scenes. Um, I think the book is really good, so I would recommend it. And it was my happy book for this couple months. So if I didn't like much the other ones, or it was in the okay level, this one made it up for everything. So if you think it's just the hype for this series, I don't think it is. It's really good. I will always recommend it. Please read it, read it, read it. And I think that's it for my wrap up. That's all the books I get. I struggle so much to do this video. I have so much struggling to do it. So finally, we're done. And like always, if you like the video, thumbs up. If you want to know if I post another video, ring the campanita. And thank you for watching. Bye.